we have started, in fact, the methods of inquiry, right? What are the methods of inquiry in psychological researches or experiments? And we have completed one method yesterday, that was observational method, right? Observational method, just to brief out, we have done the selection, recording, analysis of the, data, the procedure, and the types of observation. Two types were there, naturalistic versus control, and second one was what? Non-participant versus participant observation. Thereafter, we have done the advantages and disadvantages of observational method. Uh, Pushpa ma'am, can you hear me? Some kind of disturbance is coming.
Yes, ma'am, I can hear you, ma'am.
Ma'am, some kind of disturbance is coming.
Ma'am, I don't know how. Everyone is muted.
Everyone is muted.
Yes, ma'am.
Still, as if two people are
Now?
talking. Still it's coming. Yeah, it's okay. Now it has stopped. Okay, fine. So we have done the observational method yesterday, and we have also started with the second method, that is known as experimental method. I asked you all yesterday to keep a pencil and a rough notebook in front of you, because this method is very important from exam point of view also, and you have to note down certain key terms. Until and unless you'll not be able to understand the things, right? And I'll also not be able to make you understand properly. Just keep on noting down the things, so that later on, when I'll explain the example, the most important example, then you can relate the things. So in experimental method, we have started the first thing, what we do in an experiment, what is our goal or what is our motto? To find the cause and effect relationship between the two variables. Remember, all of you? Yes, cause and effect relationship between two or more variables. So we have talked about variables. Variable is what? Anything which could varies or which could be measured, right? An object or an individual in itself or herself is not a variable, but its attributes or its characteristics are called variables. I have given the example of pen. So pen is not a variable, but the different sizes, the different shapes and different colors of a pen will be termed as variables. Then we talked about the types of variables. The first one is independent variable. The other name is cause. What is independent? Any variable which is manipulated or altered, or its strength varied by the researcher in the experiment. What does it mean? Independent variable is a variable which is manipulated by the researcher. Manipulated means we are introducing some kind of changes, some kind of modifications inside that variable, right? This is known as independent variable. The second variable we talked about, dependent variable. Now dependent, why? Because it is dependent on something. On which variable? It is dependent on independent variable. And dependent variable is also known as, the other name is effect. The variables on which the effect of independent variable is observed is called what? Dependent variable, right? After that, the third variable is known as extraneous variable, or you can say relevant variables. Why relevant? Because these variables are very important, but it is upon the will of the researcher whether he or she want to take these external variables as a part of his study or not, right? Independent and dependent variable always chosen by the researcher. But there are other variables also operating at the same time in our environment, in our situations, that have to be controlled. So the third kind of variables are known as extraneous means external or relevant variables, right? Now, the second important topic under experimental group is experimental and control groups. Now, pay attention, please keep on writing. A very famous experiment has been done by psychologists named Latney and Darley. There were two psychologists, Latney and Darley. They have done an experiment in which they have taken experimental groups and control groups. Now, what are these groups? I'll tell you. Experimental group is a group in which members of the group are exposed to what? Independent variable manipulation, right? You all have understood that in an independent variable, we are doing certain manipulations. Yes. So, two groups are there in a study, experimental group and control group. So, experimental group mein what we are doing, the members are exposed to that independent variable manipulation. I'll explain you step by step. Do not panic that what is this independent variable manipulation. I'll give you the example. Just keep this in mind कि experimental group क्या होता है जिसके अंदर independent variable manipulation होता है. Now what is control group? Control group इसका opposite होता है. Everything is same in this group except that independent variable manipulation, right? The independent variable manipulation is absent there in control group. And what is the other name of control group? C for control and C for comparison, right? Control group is also known as comparison group, and in this group every situation is same except that independent variable manipulation that has been done in experimental group. Now try to understand a very simple thing. Suppose I want to test or I want to analyze any behavior of humans, right? As a researcher, if I'll take same individual, although same individuals are never possible in psychology, individual differences are always there. But फिर भी चलो मैं अगर suppose I give you an example, I take all the disciplined children in my study, right? I want to study their behavior and I have taken all the disciplined children in my study, in experimental group also and in control group also. And if I'll conduct my study, what will be the result? Nothing. The result will be same. So for comparison, I need the two groups to be different in some way. मैं कुछ discipline ले लूँगी, कुछ indiscipline ले लूँगी. Then I'll compare the behavior of both the children, and then I'll study the effect of this discipline on their achievement. So I'll able to find the difference, right? In the same way, experimental group and control group are taken just for the comparison, right? That is why control group is also known as comparison group. Now, what happened in this particular example, in this particular experiment, which is given in your NCRT, this is a very famous experiment. What the researchers, what the psychologists have done, keep on writing. Independent variable in this experiment is what? Presence of other persons. Independent variable in this experiment is what? Presence of other persons, right? Another thing, what will be dependent variable in this experiment? Reporting of smoke. Abhi just keep on writing, then I'll explain you the full experiment. Dependent variable is what? Reporting of smoke. Smoke, dhua, you understand? Right? Now, control group and experimental group. So there could be two control groups, two experimental group. There could be one control group and two experimental group. So anything, it depends upon the wish of the researcher. So in this experiment, They have taken one control group, write it somewhere, one control group and two experimental groups. Fine. Control group is one and experimental groups are two in number. Independent variable is presence of other persons and dependent variable is what? Reporting of smoke. Now what they have done, there was a room properly controlled. I'll explain how they have controlled. Properly controlled. A room was there and there was an enclosure. A small window was there, a small enclosure was there through which they have purposefully start putting some smoke inside the room. And what happened? Persons were sitting inside that room. Now, what is the difference? There were three rooms. In one room, no one was present. No one was present मतलब कौन सा group हुआ वो? Control group. Or in the other two rooms, two persons were already seated. Understanding? एक रूम में तो कोई भी present नहीं था. No one was present. That was what? Control group. And in the other two rooms, two persons were already seated. वो दो जो लोग थे वो कौन थे? वो psychologist और जो वो researchers थे उन्हीं के लोग थे. Latley and Darley have asked those persons to purposefully sit into that rooms. So two persons were already seated in other two rooms. और वो दो rooms में कौन से members थे? Experimental group. Right? तो तीन room हो गए. एक room में nobody was present as it was control group, and in other two rooms, two persons were already seated that were experimental group. Now what happened as the experiment proceed, they have start letting the smoke inside the room through that enclosure. Now just imagine you people are sitting in those rooms. Just imagine yourself to be one of those members of the groups, and all of a sudden smoke start entering in our room. But as per the instructions, now what were the instructions were given? Of the two experimental group, one group was instructed not to do anything when smoke filled in the room. क्या instructions दिए गए उनको? जो एक experimental group था उसमें बोला गया कि do not do anything when smoke filled in the room. This was the instruction. और जो other experimental group था, जो दूसरा वाला था, what instructions? Nothing was given. कुछ भी नहीं बोला गया. No instruction was given to the other experimental group. Right? You are getting the things? Of the two experimental group, one group was instructed not to do anything. ये एक तरह का instruction हो गया कि कुछ भी नहीं करेंगे. और जो दूसरा ग्रुप था उसमें कुछ भी नहीं बोला गया, कोई भी नहीं गया इंस्ट्रक्शंस देने, कुछ भी नहीं. They were the members were just sitting like that, right? अब क्या हुआ? तीनों रूम में the smoke was started and थोड़ी देर तक तो जो मेंबर्स थे उन लोगों ने देखा. हाँ, अब what was the reaction of the people? This was the main focus of the study of the experiment. Now what was the reaction or what was the behavior of the members? तो जब देखा गया तो सबसे ज्यादा रिपोर्टिंग किसने करी थी? कंट्रोल ग्रुप ने, जिसमें कोई भी प्रेजेंट नहीं था. नो पर्सन वाज प्रेजेंट फ्रॉम साइकोलॉजिस्ट साइड, फ्रॉम रिसर्चर साइड. सो सबसे ज्यादा मैक्सिमम रिपोर्टिंग किसने करी? कंट्रोल ग्रुप ने, कि एकदम से हमारे स्मोक भर रहा है रूम में, आप कुछ करिए, है ना. मेंबर्स ऑल ऑफ अ सडन स्टार्ट रनिंग आउट ऑफ द रूम and they have maximum reported to the concerned person that see smoke is coming, just see from where it is coming, it's very harmful, है ना. और फर्स्ट एक्सपेरिमेंटल ग्रुप था जो जिसमें कोई भी इंस्ट्रक्शन नहीं दिए गए थे, नॉट गिवन एनी इंस्ट्रक्शन. उसका नंबर कौन सा था रिपोर्टिंग में? सेकेंड. और सबसे लीस्ट रिपोर्टिंग किसने करी? जिसके मेंबर्स बैठे रहे, उसको टॉलरेट करते रहे अप टू द लिमिट. इट वाज द सेकंड एक्सपेरिमेंटल ग्रुप, जिसमें कौन से इंस्ट्रक्शंस दिए गए थे? नॉट टू डू एनीथिंग. Now you are getting the picture. I'll just repeat the things once again. अभी यहाँ तक अगर समझ में आ गया, then it will be easier for you to understand. Maximum reporting done by the control group. सेकेंड नंबर पे कौन था? द फर्स्ट एक्सपेरिमेंटल ग्रुप, जिसमें कोई भी इंस्ट्रक्शंस नहीं दिए गए थे. And the least reporting of the smoke was done by the members of the group in which instruction was given not to do anything. Right? This was the summary of this famous experiment done by Latney and Dar. Again, I am repeating the things. If you have noted down, just check it whether you have done it right or not. In this experiment, what is the independent variable? Presence of other persons, right? Dependent variable is reporting of smoke by the members of the experiment or the members of the group. Control group क्या है? Comparison group, जिसमें independent variable manipulation is absent. What is experimental group? In which independent variable manipulations have been done. Are you all going to, I'll ask the question to you people only. There is a very simple and very obvious question must be arising in your mind. I'll ask you people only later on. Right? So experimental or control group, clear? अब जब smoke started filling inside the rooms in which the members were sitting, so what was the result? Which group has reported the most? The control group, जिसमें कोई भी present नहीं था. कोई भी present मतलब researcher की तरफ से कोई भी present नहीं था. Members तो obviously were sitting there, right? Second number पे कौन था? The first experimental group, जिसमें किसी भी तरह के instructions नहीं दिए गए थे. And the least reporting has been done by which group? In which the instruction has been given not to do anything. You will not going to do anything if you will find smoke entering in your room. Now, what does it show? What does it show? It shows simply the human nature that whenever we find someone present in the situation, suppose in that room, I was sitting, okay, and principal ma'am was sitting. So as students, you people will start thinking as teacher and principals and coordinators are sitting, so why we should take the responsibility, why we should worry a lot. These are mature persons, they will take care of us. So you people will not report to that extent. When you find that all alone you are present inside the room and there is no one to take the responsibility, as a human, we will rush on. We will just report the things very fast because we are responsible for our own action. अगर हम smoke के बारे में report ही नहीं करेंगे, तो who will going to take the measures? Who will going to protect us? Right? So this is a very general human nature, human behavior. It is shown in this experiment कि जब दो लोग present थे तो उनकी reporting कम थी, but control group में nobody was present. तो जैसे ही smoke बनना start हुआ, the members just rushed out and reported to the concerned person. अब experimental group में भी थोड़ा सा difference है. जो ग्रुप था जिसमें कोई भी इंस्ट्रक्शंस नहीं दिए गए थे, वो सेकंड नंबर पे था उसका रिपोर्टिंग, राइट? And on the third number, the least reporting has been done by the second experimental group, in which instruction was given not to do anything. This also shows one of the tendency of human कि जब हमें कोई instruction दिया गया है, you will not going to do anything. तो हम क्या करते हैं? We try to follow that instructions, right? क्योंकि our mind is working towards that instruction. We don't have to do anything. They will take care. They will handle the situation. We don't have to worry. और वो वाला जो ग्रुप था जिसमें कोई भी इंस्ट्रक्शन नहीं दिया गया, the first experimental group, little bit more as compared to the second experimental group, right? Now, in the last 5 to 10 minutes, I'll put on some questions regarding this experiment only, and you people will going to ask me the doubts as well at that time only. We start with the next, not the next topic, the next things under the same group, experimental and control groups. Now, I have talked about the extraneous or relevant variables. अब इस वाली ग्रुप में, इस वाली एक्सपेरिमेंट की अगर हम बात करते हैं, तो व्हाट कुड बी द अदर रेलेवेंट वेरिएबल्स? सी, फॉर एग्जांपल, द स्पीड विथ व्हिच स्मोक स्टार्टेड एंटरिंग द रूम. It could be another relevant or extraneous variable. The total amount of smoke in the rooms, physical and other conditions of the room, right? So these are what other extraneous variables, which all have been controlled by the researcher. अगर एक रूम में स्पीड ज्यादा होगी स्मोक की, तो इट विल अफेक्ट द बिहेवियर, और अदर 2 रूम्स में अगर स्मोक की जो भरने की जो इंटेंसिटी या जो स्पीड है वो कम होगी, then also it will affect. So what we have to keep the speed same, consistent in all the 3 rooms, right? Physical and other conditions जो room की हैं, right? The infrastructure or the architecture of the rooms, it should be same in all the 3 groups. So these are what extraneous variables which have to be controlled by the researcher. Now they are saying that there is a very famous technique to control these kind of variables. It is known as random assignment. Random, this word you must have heard, all of you, randomly or random assignment. What happened in your class also, suppose I want to take a test, right? Or I want the name of participants for debate competition, right? I'm not asking you people that who all are good in speaking. Neither I'll give the names from my side, nor I will ask you people. I will just assign randomly. Randomly means I just take from first row 3 people, from second row 4 people, from third row again one student, from fourth row 4 students I'll take. So in a random order. I'm not following any odd series or any even series or any primary number. No, I'm just choosing randomly. Sometimes 2 from a particular row, sometimes 3 from a particular row, sometimes only 1 from a particular row. So this is what random assignment. Now, what is the use of this random assignment method? This method ensures that each person has an equal chance of being included in any of the groups. Nobody can complain कि मुझे नहीं लिया, या कोई biases थे टीचर के, हाँ टीचर ने intentionally मुझे नहीं लिया. No, random assignment I have given. अपने आप मैंने ऐसे कोई प्रॉपर प्लान करके नहीं, randomly I have chosen the student. So this is known as random assignment, and a 1 mark question could be asked. What is the importance of this? So this method ensures that each person has an equal chance of being included in any of the groups. All relevant variables in experimental studies that might influence the dependent variable need to be controlled. जो relevant variables हैं उनको control करना क्यों जरूरी होता है? क्योंकि they can affect the dependent variable. और हमारी study में क्या था dependent variable? Reporting of smoke, right? So they have given major types of relevant variables. जो extraneous variables की हमने बात करी थी, उनकी 3 broad categories होती हैं, और you can say 3 major types are there. What is the first type of relevant variables? The first type is known as organismic variables. Keep on writing somewhere. Organismic variables का क्या मतलब है? Related to organism, yes, such as anxiety, intelligence, personality, These you can also say psychological attributes of a person. Yes. So organismic variables, what are those? Example, you can write anxiety, intelligence, personality, stress, anything. Second type of relevant variable is situational or environmental variables. It is very easy, as name is suggesting. एनवायरमेंट सिचुएशन में जो भी वेरिएबल्स ऑपरेटेड हैं, जैसे नॉइज हो गया, टेम्परेचर हो गया, ह्यूमिडिटी, पोल्यूशन, ऑल दीज आर व्हाट? सिचुएशनल और environmental variables. This is the second type. What is the third type? The third type is known as sequential variables. Sequential, which is following any sequence, say from 1 to 10 or from 10 to 1, that is backward, right? So this is a sequence variable. This means I'll tell you about the sequential variables. A very good example is given. Let us complete the 4 types, the remaining types. These are the 3 types of relevant variables. Fine. Now there are certain techniques given how to control these type of variables. The first technique is to eliminate them. See children, try to understand. Suppose an experiment is going on and there are independent variable and dependent variable, but still some kind of noise is coming from outside. So that noise is not required in your experiment, in your study. So that will considered as environmental or situational relevant variable. Now how you can control it? So what they are saying, the first method is elimination. उसको eliminate कर दो, उसको हटा दो उधर से. तो हटा कैसे सकते हैं हम? We can make our laboratories soundproof. Yes, there are auditoriums in our school, right, which are soundproof, so that no noise could come from outside and disturb the event. So we can either use soundproof and we can eliminate that relevant variable. Now second method is what? Elimination is not always possible, you agree? हमेशा ऐसा possible नहीं है कि हम eliminate कर दें उस चीज को, right? तो क्या कर सकते हैं? We will hold them constant. कांस्टेंट का मतलब अगर कोई एक्सटर्नल वेरिएबल आ भी रहा है तो इट शुड बी होल्ड कांस्टेंट फॉर ऑल द ग्रुप्स. वो नॉइज कंट्रोल ग्रुप में भी आनी चाहिए, फिर वो नॉइज एक्सपेरिमेंटल ग्रुप में भी आनी चाहिए, और वो नॉइज पूरे टाइम फिर उस एक्सपेरिमेंट के टाइम रहनी चाहिए. So it is affecting all the people in the same manner for the same duration. अगर experiment is going for 1 hour, so that noise should come constantly for that 1 hour and it should affect all the groups in equal manner. So this is the second technique, to hold them constant, to hold them consistent. Third technique is what? Matching. Matching is there. Like for controlling organismic behavior. Organismic में जैसे हमने बात करा था, emotion हो गया, intelligence हो गया, motivation हो गया, fear हो गया, और background variables भी होते हैं certain. Suppose some children are from rural background, some people are from urban background. Yes, various socio-economic status are there, middle class, high class, low class, below poverty line, right? तो मैचिंग इज डन. मैचिंग में क्या करेंगे हम? सेम तरह के पर्सन्स चूज कर लेंगे कि सपोज आई हैव टेकन द मिडिल लेवल. सोशो इकोनॉमिक स्टेटस की बात करें तो मिडिल लेवल के पीपल मैंने ले लिए, रूरल बैकग्राउंड के इंडिविजुअल्स मैंने ले लिए. सो दैट इज व्हाट मैचिंग इज डन. वी आर मैचिंग them in some manner. The fourth technique is counterbalancing technique. Very famous technique, very important term again. Counterbalancing is what? To counter the balance. How come? Suppose I am giving a list of meaningless words to the members, right? To the members of or to the subjects of the group. तो वो लिस्ट जो है मीनिंगलेस वर्ड्स की, वो कैसे फॉर्मेट में है? A, B, C, D. This is one sequence. Now to counterbalance it, I will give the list to other members or to the same group in the different pattern. from backward to front. I will give them as in the manner D, C, B, A, right? So one time I have given from A, B, C, D. The second sequence will be D, C, B, A. So this is what we call counterbalancing technique. The random assignment we have done, this is the fifth technique. Just now I have discussed random assignment to randomly select the students or person for the study so that everybody has an equal chance of being included in these groups. This is all about the experimental and control group. We're going to do the limitations, the strength of this particular method tomorrow. Pushpa ma'am, can you please